Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton is going on the attack against House Oversight Chair James Comer. Clinton demanding a public hearing as part of the Oversight Committee's probe into convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
Here is what's for certain. Donald Trump is in a state of complete panic as his efforts to deflect from the Epstein saga continue to fail. After Hillary and Bill Clinton agreed to testify in the House Oversight Committee's Epstein probe, ultimately calling Trump's bluff on the matter, well, today, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton publicly pushed for cameras in the room, calling out House Oversight Chair James Comer by name.
Probe into convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Clinton writing on X, "If you want this fight, James Comer, let's have it in public. You love to talk about transparency. There's nothing more transparent than a public hearing. Cameras on. We'll be there."
And well, Trump's response in the wake of all this kind of looks a lot more like preemptive appeasement than the big bad persona that he likes to put on.
Today we heard that the Clintons set deposition dates to testify before the House Oversight Committee. Any reaction to that related to the Epstein question?
I think it's a shame, to be honest. I always liked him. Her, yeah. She's a very capable woman. She was better in debating than some of the other people, I will tell you that. She was smart woman. I hate to see it in many ways. I hate to see it. But, then I look at me. They went after me like, they wanted me to go to jail for the rest of my life. Then it turned out I was innocent, very innocent. I had a friend that said, a very smart friend, he's a very wealthy man, knows the life, streetwise guy. He said, you have to be the most honest person anywhere in the world because there's never been anybody who's been examined up and down. I have hundreds of thousands of pages of documents, millions of pages. With all of that, they found absolutely nothing wrong. Remember, his tax returns, they fought for years and years. And then the Supreme Court, I was surprised, they ruled I had to give my tax returns. I'm the only one that had to ever do that. But I had to give my tax returns. I gave my tax returns. They hired the best accounting firms in the world. They found nothing.
After months of legal maneuvering, House Republicans, led by Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer, were poised to hold Hillary and Bill Clinton in contempt for failing to appear before Congress as part of the Epstein probe. But instead, well, the Clintons agreed to sit for recorded depositions later this month, with Hillary Clinton scheduled for February 26th and Bill on February 27th. And well, Hillary isn't just quietly complying. She is calling for a public hearing on camera in front of the American public and daring Republicans to bring it into the open.
Well, we know he was on the plane, not only on the plane a couple times, multiple times. He traveled internationally with Jeffrey Epstein. And he was on the plane called the Lolita Express because it supposedly had a bed in there where Jeffrey Epstein had young girls. He has been a friend of his, a continuing friend of his for years and years. Contrast that with Donald Trump.
Curious about it. If one is testifying and one knows that at least the Republicans in the committee are going to be hostile, it seems to me fair enough that you would want it to be open hearing, broadcast live, where people can watch it in its entirety and make up their own minds. Whether this were Hillary Clinton or anyone else, I think the difficulty with closed-door hearings that are videoed is that the political enemy of whoever is testifying can then, at least in theory, release selectively edited parts of the video or leak parts of the video in a damaging way.
Now, full disclosure, right, as we've continued to say on this very network, this shouldn't be about political mudslinging, right? The horrific and monstrous acts, if they are found to have been committed by anyone, Democrat or Republican, they need to be held to account. Who gives a shite where they land politically? But if it is to be Clinton, right, then here's Republicans' shot to present that evidence to the public. They're calling for it, which is a lot more than the Trump administration have been doing on the matter for months. The White House has tried to deflect and cast the Epstein probe as a partisan attack on Donald Trump and his allies. But the Clintons stepping forward publicly flies in the face of that narrative, right? It dilutes Trump's political framing. If the so-called opposition witness shows up on your terms in public, then you no longer control the optics, right? Instead of Trump on the defensive, you now see his political rivals taking control of the moment, insisting that the inquiry happen and be broadcast for all of America to see. Trump signed the Epstein Files Transparency Act last year, but in the wake of it, how many times have Republicans and his administration tried to hold it up? Democrats have had to fight tooth and nail to release the documents that we've seen.
Why are Republicans so interested in Bill and Hillary Clinton? It's because they're trying to distract from the fact that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files thousands and thousands of times. In those files, there's highly disturbing allegations of Donald Trump raping children, of Donald Trump threatening to kill children. So I encourage your press to go look at these allegations. And I'm highly disturbed that Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche just got the law wrong. Yesterday, he said, essentially, that it is not a crime to party with Jeffrey Epstein. Well, that's actually not correct. If Jeffrey Epstein was human trafficking minors for these sex parties, and you show up and patronize the establishment at that party, yes, you're guilty, because patronizing is part of the law, of the federal sex trafficking law. So Deputy General Todd Blanche just got that wrong, which maybe explains why they aren't investigating all these folks, including Donald Trump. He needs to read the law and investigate these people. He also needs to resign, not only for not knowing the law, but a massive, not only screw up, but the biggest privacy violation in history. They release a lot of pictures of minors unredacted, just violated the privacy of these girls. It is uncalled for what they did. The one thing that they could not do under this law was to invade the privacy of these women now, who were girls at the time, who were victims of sex trafficking. Also, he met with Ghislaine Maxwell, moved her to a minimum security prison, and then got a puppy for her. So for all those reasons, he's just got to leave the Department of Justice.
Now, as those documents continue to surface, albeit drawn out and delayed, the American people are demanding action and accountability for the victims, all while the president thinks that we should just move on as a country from it.
On the Epstein files, you talked about Democrats who were in there. Elon Musk was also in there, and so was your Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, and correspondence that he had with him. Did you read those new files that were published by the Department of Justice?
I have a lot of things I'm doing, a lot of things I'm doing. I don't know. You mentioned two names. I'm sure they're fine. Otherwise, it would have been major headlines.
A lot of women who are survivors of Epstein's are unhappy with those redactions that came out. Some of them, entire witness interviews are totally blacked out. Do you think that they should be more transparent? The fact that they thought they released too much. I heard that, and you tell me something else. I think it's really time for the country to get onto something else. Really. Now that nothing came out about me, other than it was a conspiracy against me, literally, by Epstein and other people. But I think it's time now for the country to maybe get onto something else. But what would you say to people who feel like they haven't gotten justice, Mr. President?
Something that people care about.
How do you move on from something that there's been no accountability over? And by the way, this doesn't sound like something someone who has nothing to hide would say, not to mention that he does seem to get awfully upset when he's asked about it, especially from a female reporter.
I mean, like, there was a moment in the Oval Office, I wasn't even in there, but, I was in the West Wing, and somebody sent me where he was talking to Caitlin Collins, who's the CNN anchor. And I have like a decent relationship with Caitlin Collins, which is unusual given that she's from CNN. But the president, she's asking a question. The president says, "Why don't you ever smile?"
Yeah.
And it's actually like so perceptive. Even if you're asking a tough question, even if you take your job very seriously, like, why does it always have to be so antagonistic?
Well,
Mr. President.
Something that people care about. What do you say? Go ahead.
What would you say to the survivors who feel they've
You are the worst reporter. No wonder CNN has no ratings because of people like you. She's a young woman. I don't think I've ever seen you smile. I've known you for 10 years. I don't think I've ever seen a smile on your face. You know why? You know why you're not smiling? Because you know you're not telling the truth. And you're a very dishonest organization, and they should be ashamed of you. Okay, go ahead.
You mentioned health care, and the bill that was just passed does not include your health care savings account. So this is a question for you, and maybe for Mr. Speaker as well.
I'm so proud of the health care savings accounts, because it's going to happen.
And now, as the Clintons are calling for transparency, even inviting cameras, That's a narrative shift that puts the onus back on Donald Trump and his administration. It completely contrasts with Trump's past evasions and attempts to control the narrative through selective file releases and legal maneuvers. And it's got to the point that even some traditionally friendly outlets and past MAGA associates are pointing out that Trump's strategy isn't working the way it was intended, and it looks like he's trying to hide something.
Clinton is scheduled to testify on February 26th. Bill Clinton will testify the very next day. What should we be keeping an eye on during these next 3 weeks as this whole situation seems to unfold?
So, first of all, obviously this question of whether it will ultimately be an open hearing, or open hearings, I guess we should say, or open depositions, where both people do testify live, both Hillary Clinton and former President Clinton. But beyond that, I think this is obviously a political fight at some level. The reason all this squabbling is going on about the conditions is because both the Clintons on one hand and the Republicans on the other are trying to get the upper hand in terms of public messaging, pushing the narrative in their favor one way or another. So I think we're almost certainly going to see a lot more of that between today and the dates that they're actually due to appear.
So as his once staunch rivals, now all of a sudden cronies when the cameras are on, are stepping into the spotlight and daring the public to look, it poses the question, what about you, Donald? Will you do the same? Because your name is mentioned in the Epstein files more than Harry Potter's name's mentioned in the books about Harry Potter. And the American people deserve to know why.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.